Okay, this is Math Studies B, Section 7.3, Factored Form. We wrote this on the first page of the packet, but just in case, we'll put it again. Factored form is x minus root 1 times the quantity of x minus root 2. So what we're going to do is take our equations in general form and switch them to factored form, which is exactly the opposite of what we did on 7.2. 7.2 we started in factored form and went to general form. Once we have an equation in factored form, we can solve it very easily using the zero product property. And to do that, the zero product property states if the quantity of A times B is 0, then A is 0 or B is 0. So if I have an equation in factored form, like y equals x minus 7 and y equals x plus 8, and I wanted to set that equation equal to 0 and solve it, I know that either x minus 7 is 0 or x plus 8 is 0. And so if x minus 7 is 0, then x is 7. Add 7 to both sides of the equation. 0 plus 7 is 7. If x plus 8 is 0, we subtract 8 from both sides, then x equals negative 8. So you can kind of look at it, and if it's an x minus 7 in the equation, your answer is x equals 7. If it's a positive 8 in the equation, then your answer is negative 8. And so if we can get the equations from this form to this form, we can easily give the opposite of these roots, and that's your solution. So let's do some examples. X squared minus 7x plus 10. Since we're going backwards from section 7.2, we actually start with our three terms inside the box, as opposed to when we had our two factors outside the box. Now, we want to come up with the product of these two. And think of factors of 10. So to make 10, I can have a 1 and a 10, or a 2 and a 5. Barring any negatives, those are the only factors of 10. I mean, obviously I could have a negative 1 and a negative 10, and a negative 2 and a negative 5, because the two negatives would make a positive. And so really I should have x's here, because 1x and 10x makes 10x squared, 2x and 5x makes 10x squared. So we're going to look at one of these two pairs to go in these two boxes. 1 and 10 will not add to negative 7. Negative 1 and negative 10 will not add to negative 7. 2 and 5 do not add to 7, but negative 2 and negative 5, they do add to 7, or negative 7. So I can put negative 2x and negative 5x in my two boxes, and it doesn't matter which one goes where. I can flip the order. Now that I have those in there, I'm going to finish filling out the outside of the box. I know x times x is the only way to make x squared. X times negative 2 will make negative 2x. X times negative 5 will make negative 5x. And to check, negative 5 times negative 2 definitely makes 10, so I know I have the right answer. My answer in factored form is 0 equals x minus 5 and x minus 2. And so I know I have x negative 5, so I made the minus, x negative 2, so I made it a minus. Then using the zero product property, if x minus 5 is a factor, then 5 is a solution. If x minus 2 is a factor, then 2 is a solution. So just like with solving the vertex form equations, I get my two answers. And that is how we solve a factored form equation. I'm going to do the next one. We'll start with x squared, 6x, and negative 16 in the box. The product of the a term and the c term are negative 16x squared. Factors of 16 include 1 and 16. 2 and 8, and 4 and 4. Because my product has to be negative, I know that means I will be subtracting to come up with this center B term. So I can do 1 minus 16 or 16 minus 1 to get 6. That doesn't work. I can do 2 minus 8 or 8 minus 2 to get 6. 8 minus 2 is 6. I don't even need to do the next one. I have found my terms. So make sure the negative goes on the 2 because 8 minus 2 is 6. And then we can fill out the outside. X times x makes x squared. Negative 2 times x makes negative 2x. 8 times x makes 8x. And we check 8 times negative 2 makes negative 16. I know we have the answer. So if this is a 0, then x is 2 and negative 8. I'm going to scroll down for the next one. Letter C, 3x squared, 2x minus 16. So we're used to kind of taking this value up here, and that's what we're trying to multiply to make. But remember, it's not just the C term, it's the product of the A term and the C term. And it's only really important if you have a number in front of your x squared. So 3 times negative 16 is negative 48. So what times what makes 48? We can do 1 and 48, 2 and 24, 3. 48 divided by 3 is 16, so 3 works. I know 4 and 12. I know 5 won't work because it has to end in a 0 or a 5 to be divisible by 5. 48 divided by 6 is 8. 48 divided by 7 doesn't work, and since I've hit the bottom of my numbers, I know I have all my factors. So we are trying to subtract to 2. No, 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 no. 8 minus 6 is 2. So to make a 3x squared, that is 3x times x. I need to choose the appropriate place for my 3. If I put a 3 here, there's nothing 3 times a number to make 8. That does not work. If I put my 3 here, 3 times something will make negative 6, and that something is a negative 2. So all of the previous examples, this number and this number were the same. That works if there's no number in front of the x squared, but with this number in front of the x squared, it's more complicated. This value is no longer this value. This value is no longer this value. So 3 times negative 2 makes negative 6. 8 times 1 makes 8. And I do my check. 8 times negative 2 makes negative 16, so I have the right answer. This is y equals 3x plus 8 and x minus 2. The second solution is easy. That is x equals 2. The first one, again, because of the 3, it makes it more complicated. So I would literally write it out, at least until you get the hang of it. And we are solving for when this equals 0. So we will subtract 8 from each side. That's going to make it difficult to keep going. Subtract 8 from each side. That's a little better. Negative 8 is 3x. And then divide by 3 on each side. Negative 8 over 3. We can leave it as a fraction, negative 8/3, or we can use the decimal. So x is both negative 2 and 2/3 and positive 2. Okay, the last one's a little simpler, but I throw it on there because if there is no x term, if there is no b term, the center is a 0. So then we're trying to make negative 9. 9 factors are 1 and 9, 3 and 3. We need to subtract to make 0. 3 minus 3 is 0. And that leaves us with x times x. 3 times negative 3. Our check, negative 3 times 3 makes negative 9. So we have our factored form. And that means our solutions are negative 3 and positive 3. Okay, so those were very long notes. I hope you were able to follow all of that. Good luck with the exercises, and let me know if you need any help.